This video is going to demonstrate how to build this modular jack using the library Expert Footprint Designer. We're going to open the Footprint Designer, go directly to the Body tab. I'm going to select Rectangular for the body. And next we'll go take a look at the manufacturer's data sheet so we can fill in the X, Y, and Z dimensions. The manufacturer's data sheet gives us a general idea of the board layout. We get our X dimension from the top view, 16.13 millimeters. We get the Z dimension from the component height, shown in the side view as 13.7. Now the Y dimension, 21.65, is misleading because this part overhangs the board. So we're going to take this dimension here, 10.8, and subtract the board layout reference dimension of 6.9. And that's going to give us an adjustment that we're going to apply to the side dimension. And that completes our body dimensions. And now we can go make some pad stacks. The data sheet gives us the manufacturer's recommended hole sizes. For signal pins, it's 0.95 millimeters. For the LEDs, it's 1.1. For the shell ground, 1.65. And for the non-plated mounting holes, 3.25. In the Pad Stack Designer, I've used the manufacturer's hole size recommendations to generate all four of the pad stacks. Here's the one for my signal. Here's the one for the LEDs. The one for this shield ground. And last, the non-plated hole. Notice here that the checkbox for plating is unchecked and the pad selection is none. So now I click Done, and all these pad stacks will be added to my database and I can start placing pins. The first pins I'm going to place are going to be the mounting holes, and that's because so many of the other dimensional references are to the mounting hole locations. Note the dimension 6.9. That's going to give us the offset of the mounting holes from the body edge. Also looking at the pin numbers, you can see the last pin number given is 14 for one of the LEDs. So we'll start with 15 and 16 for the shield pins, and then 17 and 18 for the mounting pins. The first thing I'm going to do before I start placing the pins is move the origin from its current location at the center of the body extents down to the front edge of the body. And I do that by selecting the Origin tab. I'm going to select Midpoint. I'm going to select the Assembly Drawing layer. And I'm going to use the right mouse button and select Snap to Lines. Now I go down here, tag that line, and the origin will move to the middle of that line. Now I can use the 6.9 millimeter offset that we got from the body layout and start placing the two mounting pins. Now the mounting pins were the last two pad stacks I added, so I'll select them. I'm going to define the location of those two pins. I click the Define button. I'm going to set the row span at 11.43, and that value comes from the spacing that I was given from the manufacturer data sheet. We're going to do two pins, the left and right pin. They're going to do nothing in the Y dimension. So click that. It fills in my X location. Now I'm going to put the 6.9 in for my Y. Set the pin number to 17. And I click Add. And our two mounting holes are added. Now I'm going to go back and move the origin again. This time I'm going to select a pad. And I'm going to move the origin from its current location up to the center of pin 17. So I have to select pins, and I have to select the top layer, and now the origin is on pin 17, and I can start placing some of the other pins that were referred to the mounting holes. The first pin I'm going to place is pin 1, and its location with regard to the left-hand mounting hole is X0, Y 8.89. Now, one thing I forgot when I was creating the pad stacks was that I wanted pin 1 to be a square pin. So I'm going to go back to pad stacks, and I'm going to create a square pin for pin 1. And I do that by selecting my regular round signal pin here. Double click on that, and it comes up. Now I'm going to change the shape to square, and then I'm going to add that back into the pad stacks. Done. Now when I return to the pins tab, I'm going to select the square pad stack that I just made. We're going to define its location, and it's going to be x of 0, y of 8.89. We're going to repeat 0 times, and we're going to set the pin number back to pin number 1. And when I hit add, pin 1 comes in. Before I add pins 2 through 10, I'm going to go ahead and move the origin now up to pin 1. So I select pad, that, and I'm also going to change the grid size to 1.27, and I want it turned on. Now we'll go back to pins. Now back in pins, I can select my default signal pin pad stack. I'm going to define the locations, but this time I'm going to place the pins manually, beginning with pin number 2. Now we're skipping 7 and 8. We'll go up to 9. And that would be 7, 8, 9, and 10. Next, I'm going to reset the origin back to the left-hand mounting hole and set the grid up for 1.07 in X and 4.57 in Y. And that'll make it easy for me to add pin 12. Next, I'm going to move the origin to pin 12 and set the grid up for 13.56 in X and 2.03 in Y. Next, we're going to move the origin back to the left-hand mounting hole and add the left-hand shield pin at X minus 2.03 and Y 3.05. I select a pad stack for the shield pin. We're going to define its location as X equals minus 2.03 and Y is 3.05. We're repeating no times, and it's going to be pin number 15. And now when I push that add button, it comes right in. And notice how the silk screen got pushed out to avoid contact with the pad. To place the last shield pin, we're going to move the origin up to the left-hand shield pin and then add the other pin at X equals 15.49 and Y equals 0. Before we put the finishing touches on this part, we're going to set the origin to where we want it to be when the part's finally finished. And that can either be on a pad, like pad 1, or we can put it on the left mounting hole where it was originally. Or we can put it back in the middle of the part. That's called the home position, and that's the very center of the extents. Or if you want to use it for placing the part on the board edge, you might want to put it on the middle center. I'm going to go ahead and put it on this mounting hole. And now we can click the Finish tab and put a name on this thing and save it to our library. The name I'm going to give it comes from the manufacturer's data sheet, which lists this as a TRP connector with a part number of 2250024. Now I can click Done. If I open up a new library, I can import that part. And if I reset the part, double click on it in the library, it comes right back in.